Hi everyone, and welcome to the Indieheads podcast. I am Alex, or Tatio Senji, and I'll be your host for tonight because Maddie is house sitting, or some excuse, I don't know.
He's a metal phobe.
You're too fucking lazy to listen to this album.
Yeah,
Maddie,
yeah.
you jerk.
Too narrow-minded.
That was
Only-
basically his reason. He was like, I don't really feel like it. Alright,
Such
so...
a lazy asshole. He only records, hosts, and coordinates this entire damn podcast. Yeah.
What a jackass. We could totally get on without him. We have a lot of
Like, now that
dedicated
it's-
members.
He's just riding on our fame.
Yeah. Alright, so on the podcast tonight we have Will.
Yeah, I'll go. Stefan.
Oh, right, yeah.
One.
Okay. I'm Josiah, as you just heard. User Wild Imp.
And I'm Will, user Roll for Thrill. And I'll start off the discussion of what we've been listening to this week. My first album is the new live Swans album, The Gate. It was exclusive to only to donors for their new studio album.
Yeah, wasn't it limited to like 250 copies or something like that?
I think
Or was it
that was like
100?
something else. I don't.
Wasn't it like a large donation, too?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the minimal donation for just the CD, live CD, was $45.
Damn.
Once you-
I mean, it was like hand printed.
Well, yeah,
right?
and you also get a Michael Garris autograph on each one.
The
The thing is,
Thank
but
you.
once you,
That's gotta get you at least like
right, but
75
the thing is,
meme
once
points.
you like get more level go up, the better deal you get. Like for $65, you get that. It's a new CD, and you get a CD of the new album whenever it comes out, and a live DVD. Then $80, you get the final.
That's awesome.
And
Is
then,
that
and
what
I
you
did
did?
$100, which means I'm an executive producer of the album.
Damn.
So
You do 500 he paints you, right?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You get like a painting of you by Jira.
Yeah, he went to
That's
art school. I was
awesome.
with Kim Gordon in art school. I read about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
That's like a
Anyways, but
cool method, though. A cool way to kind of benefit off their following.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how they're doing
I love-
Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah. I love when artists do weird shit. Like fucking Meow the Jewels. I'm so happy that actually happened. I know it was a joke, but
It's
like
good.
I just want to see more of that in the future. I still haven't listened to it.
Okay, like you're talking about how much you love that it exists, but you haven't listened to it, and though it's been out for weeks, like
I love the idea of it.
Like, come
Just
on.
the fact that there was a Dan the Automator beat on there made me happy.
the thing is, like that's the piece of the whole purpose. If you just like the fact that it exists, and you don't actually. Anyways, back to
I did like the remixes I listened to. I just haven't gotten around to it. I keep forgetting about it.
For what it
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard people talking about it for what it is.
Yeah. Like, anyways, back to the point. So yeah, this Swans Gate, the live album. I saw Swans back in April, and since I've just been like frothing at the mouth for this new album, even though at that point it's still more than a year away. Yeah, I definitely was willing to pay for this album. And half is new unrecorded material they've been playing on the tour, and half of it is songs from To Be Kind. And yeah, this one's live show is just it's one of the more unique live shows you go to because they're not just playing the album versions of the songs, like the live
Yeah.
version and the
Yeah, I definitely want to see Swans on their last tour,
Yeah.
or at least the last
if
tour
you
in
have
this
even a
lineup.
minute interest in them, I would say do it just because it's an experience.
I got the chance to go see them at a really cool venue that's pretty close by on their last tour, but I hadn't heard any of their music yet, and it was just like I'd heard that their shows were almost literally deafening, so I decided to stay away from it because at the time I wasn't using earplugs yet.
No.
But now I am, and I'll probably go to the next one if they come around again.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's like the traditional descriptions of good and enjoyable, like favorite, whatever, like don't really apply here just because you're just being bludgeoned by Swans.
Yeah.
And like I was standing up so near the end, like you're kind of like after 2 hours of listening to that, you're like, oh, right. Like is it one? There's part of you that wants to go home, the part of you are like, I could stay here forever. That makes sense.
Yeah. That's how I felt after Death Grips. It was like, it was so brutal. I didn't know what to do with myself afterwards. I was like, I was so devoid of energy, but like so alive.
Yeah, I got it.
I just, I listened to Sufjan all the way home because that was the only thing I could like listen to without just feeling exhausted.
Anyways, these new tracks,
it was nice.
they're hot. Okay, Frankie M. That's the opening track for their live set. It's a really cool song. It's almost once they start off with like they come out one member at a time. First, Thor Harris is like playing the chimes, and then Christopher Hahn comes out and plays the lap steel, and then Phil Poilo gets on the drums. So one by one, they come in and just noise grows and grows, and then they go into the song. And at least by Swan standards, this is actually kind of a poppy song almost. It's kind of cool. It has some shouting the phrase "butterfly," yeah. Frankie M. Butterfly. Anyways.
Yeah, I heard like some studio footage of Jir recording that, and I was like, that is the least aggressive things I've from Swans.
Oh, it's a neat song though. I'm interested to see how it sounds in the studio, like not a live intro. Cloud Unforming, that's probably sounded, but apparently like as the name would suggest, it's just every night, not like any one definite thing. Like in this one, they transitioned from the apostate, and they just kind of like ad-libbed it, and they just kind of went with it. And it ended up
yeah. I'm eager to hear the studio final version of Black Hole.
Have you heard the live version?
No.
Yeah.
But I haven't yet, but I've heard like I've heard it's legendary.
Yeah, what happens is that's the last song of the set is Bring the Sun, Black Hole Man. He changed it to Black Eyed Man now. He doesn't like the title Black Hole Man, which is ludicrous because that's when the song.
That's the
coolest fucking title I've ever heard.
He gives a lot of notes. Like he gives like a track by track like breakdown of how he's gonna record it, or his plans for the song, each one. And that's when he says like he came up with it on the spot one night and he's like didn't like it. But it's already less cool, and it's a danger of being even less cool. So if you're listening to this Michael Gira, you got it right the first time. Go back. But anyways, yeah, no. But the thing is, that if there is one weakness on To Be Kind, it is To Saint Latour. If there is one, it's still pretty great. But this like Black Eyed Man tops it. I can't. It's so good. It's like the most exhilarating thing they've done. It's like punk rock almost. It's like it's going to be my song of the year next year. And I guess one exclusive information I'll tell you is that they're going to re-record Bring the Sun for the album. This is version of Black Hole Man.
Huh.
So they're
neat.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be some stuff.
Yeah. So kind of like, would that almost be like a Morning Bell / or Amnesiac Morning Bell kind of deal?
A little bit. Like rehash completely.
Yeah, it's pretty different.
Well, I wouldn't call Amnesiac a rehash.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it either. At least that song.
Yeah.
I mean, neither album. That's besides the point. My next album. Well, I'll start up saying I went this last Monday. I went to the Run the Jewels concert. I was thinking about not going because I was busy, but then I ended up just staying through it and going. It was the best decision.
I'm glad you did go.
Yeah, because it's by far one of the top 2 or 3 concerts I've been to this year. Any rumors you've heard, any live videos you've seen of Run the Jewels, like that would suggest that they're their best live hip hop act right now, are true. Unless you count Death Grips, which I don't, because they're excluded from this because their show is just that legendary. But anyways.
Also, I wouldn't call Death Grips hip hop, and also I'm pretty sure they're really broken up. Like, it's starting to seem like that. In my opinion, I don't know.
But anyways,
who knows?
It was a fantastic show. But when I was at the show, when I was waiting for it to start, they were playing the song, and I thought, oh damn, this song's hot. And I'm like, oh damn, I've heard this song. And I remembered it was Vince Staples' "Lift Me Up," the opening track from his recent album. So I decided to revisit that album. My initial thoughts were that had some of the best production I've heard all year. No ID does most of the production, and they have a little bit of Clams Casino here too. And yeah, it's really thick, heavy, distorted bass lines that are just one of my favorite things in all of hip hop. It's really hot. Shouts out to No ID. And Vince Staples is a good MC, but I don't say that he does any of these beats justice. Like, he's good, but he's the least interesting thing on the track. On pretty much most of the tracks here. It's still definitely one of my, because that's actually my main complaint with hip hop this year and just in recent years, is that there's so many albums and that are so close to being so good that just like they're just like a few tracks kind of detract from the greater whole.
Yeah.
This one was kind of, that's still like, not like the hooks are still incredible. Like North North, great one. Birds and the bees, they wanna be, they'll never fuck with me.
This wasn't on Summertime '06, but I think Vince killed the Blue Suede
Blue
beat.
Suede is awesome. I don't love Senorita as much as most people do,
Yeah.
but it's still pretty damn hot. Man's hot.
Yeah.
Might be Get Paid is hot. Street Punks is hot. Wanna hang, wanna bang, wanna slang. Wanna hang, wanna bang, wanna slang. That's a great hook. But just the verses, like, I like that he's bringing back gangster rap because I feel like that's just a shift that could happen. It's been way long enough that I'm okay with gangster rap.
I think he's got a great voice.
Yeah, the thing is that he's so close, but he's just not. I feel like he was like almost out of his league on this album. Like if he had just a little bit more tangible, less incredible beats, he was outclassed. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if someone like Danny Brown was on here, woo, should be hot, man. But I still enjoy the album. But there's a few tracks I don't like. Like I really don't like Let Me Know with Gene Aiko when they kind of dubbed their voices together. That didn't really like it was. I admire their audacity to do it, but it didn't really work for me. The last two songs on both discs are him kind of like singing, kind of like Drake and Kanye West fucked up the game because they made all these rappers think they can sing talk now, and they can't.
Yeah.
But
Alright.
overall, like I feel good about this album, but it just makes me mad just because of how close it was to being better than just good.
Yeah. There are a lot of records like that. Reflector is one of those records to me because it's got so many elements on just perfectly, and it's like it's such a fun mess of an album, but it doesn't quite perfect it like actually Sufjan does. And I like comparing Reflector to Sufjan's work because a lot of Sufjan's albums are just fun, crazy
Illinois
messes. Specifically,
there's no doubt about it.
yeah, Age of Odds in Illinois, like those are perfect records that are just overstuffed and bursting at the seams, you know?
This one's
But
well overstuffed. It's
I don't
technically
think.
a double album, but it's a little bit less than an hour, and there's been a lot longer single albums this year, so I won't even call the length the problem,
Yeah.
but just that a few tracks weren't really as good as the others, and
Up to snuff.
his verses just needed to be a little bit cleaned up,
Yeah.
a little bit more.
All right, Stefan.
That's the first time my name's been said right on the podcast. This is amazing. Couldn't imagine interesting.
Savor it.
Stefan.
You killed it. Anyways,
All right.
So first album I've been listening to for the past couple weeks since it came out, which is Darkstar's Foam Island. I've been a Darkstar fan for a while now, pretty much since their debut in 2010 North, which I love that album. I think it's an absolute classic, one of the classic pop albums of the 2010s. Very interesting down-tempo pop music with this kind of frosty, glitchy production, which they followed up in 2013 with News from Nowhere, which kind of saw them move towards a more a lush, ornate, dream poppier sound. And then, so I was curious. I didn't love News from Nowhere. It had some great tracks on it, but some of it kind of fell flat. So I was pretty curious to see what they did with Foam Island, especially seeing as they lost their vocalist and they've gone back to their original two-piece lineup with this one. And they kind of do land somewhere in the middle, that real glitchy frostiness of North and that kind of up-tempo lushness of News from Nowhere. Also with the addition of, I don't know if it's live orchestration or just very well done string samples, but there's some of that in there. And I think most interestingly, the album throughout features these spoken word little snippets of interviews with, I guess, young British people, which seems to be the concept they're going for with the album, is just talking to these people and trying to figure out, what the lives of, kind of first generation poor immigrant people living in the UK are going through right now. And well, it does succeed in that conceptually, and I think, there's moments where the music will swell as a person's talking. Those are probably some of the most arousing ones of the album, but overall, the album does, again, like News from Nowhere, fall flat in a couple of places. I think the departure of their vocalist hurt them quite a bit because the vocals that are here on this
Mm.
album are just they're very flat, and a lot of the vocal-oriented tracks are just they're not all that engaging. They're kind of repetitive, very overlong. So for that reason, I didn't adore this album, but it is certainly the most musically and conceptually ambitious album Darkstar have done so far. And so I do have to give it some praise. I think it's definitely worth the time. You're just getting in Darkstar here, but you definitely should get into Darkstar because they're a fantastic band.
Where should I
Only
start?
North. Yeah,
Okay.
that's their best album, and just, going in
North
chronological
side of
order.
Long Beach.
Sorry.
Sorry, I had to drop in that north. In there.
So yeah, I've been listening to that album,
Okay.
and then also another album that I wanted to listen to early in the year but just never got around to was Jenny Hval's Apocalypse Girl, which is, I do
yeah.
have to say that Fantana was a little right when he talked about this album, saying that it sounds like someone's high school art project, but
Yeah, see, there were times when I thought the moment the album was gorgeous and moving, and other times where it just kind of it was too, she laid it on too heavy, like the whole soft dick rock thing just kind of makes me cringe. It's like I get what she was going for, and I wish I appreciated it, but it just doesn't work out for me.
yeah, I think what keeps those moments from falling flat for me is that, it really isn't just someone, kind of trying to be pretentious or avant-garde. It seems like Jenny Hval
Yeah.
really does have like an educated, in-depth understanding of the avant-garde, and she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's why
Yeah.
a lot of these tracks work, and I find them voice and the lyrics, they're really interesting. Like the story he tells on Sabbath is
Yeah.
just like one of the most stirring things I've heard all year. And the drone,
The Battle Is Over is one of my favorite songs of the year for sure.
yeah, and the drone track at the end of this thing is, that's insane modern classical influence drone, and the dissonances that are going on in there and the way they interact with her voice is just like straight out of a Tim Hecker song or something. So yeah, I've been listening to that album, enjoying it quite a bit, and just it's been such a good year for feminism in pop music. I feel we've just had so many
Yeah.
important albums from female artists that voice that perspective so well. Which is not to say there haven't been those albums in previous years, but I think just this year, it's great that we're seeing so much more of it and actually getting exposed to it. And I love that that's happening. I mean, it's no coincidence that Sleater Kinney comes back in 2015, and then it's one of the best years for feminism in music. They graced us
Yeah.
in January, and everything since then has been great.
I guess I'm up next.
Okay.
So I actually picked up a lot of records in this past week, and therefore don't have anything too in depth to say about any of them. I wanna give a shout out to Fleet Fox's Self-Titled for being the most pleasant album I've ever
I
listened
discovered the
to.
album this spring, and well, not discovered, but like I fell in love with
But
it.
also,
So,
yeah, it's also like very secretly depressing. Like if you're sad, normally that album is just this like nice ray of winter sunshine, but if you're sad and you listen to it, it's crushing.
the Tiger Mountain Death song. That one's
Yeah.
that's one of the more haunting songs in a long
Yeah.
time.
The record I did want to talk about and give a shout out to was Learning by Perfume Genius. I feel like everyone's heard Put Your Back Into It or Too Bright at least, but like I think this one is just as strong as the other two, and it's got some really beautiful lo-fi moments. It's a really well textured and lush lo-fi album. I didn't really think of him as like a lo-fi artist, I mean, I'm sure, we all start somewhere, but like I guess what I'm saying is what he achieved with a low sound is really impressing to me on this record, because it manages to feel like thick and dense and lush and beautiful without being clear, and having like serious professional equipment. And also, I wanted to talk about how Perfume Genius's music to me is very adaptable, except for maybe like I don't know, half of Too Bright. I feel like I could listen to most of his music just in any mood and enjoy it. Like, even though a lot of it's really sad and heartbreaking, like, some of his songs are played in, like, you know, a major scale, and they're kind of upbeat sounding, like Hood and like Normal Song. And those songs are really nice when you're happy and just sort of enjoying life, and you just listen to them in a superficial way, and they're a good wallpaper. But then, you know, if you're sad, you use them for comfort, and I think that's a really good quality of music. And I've talked about this in the chat lately too, because I've just been noticing that in certain releases, like the Fleet Foxes album. I mean, to a lesser extent, because that one also fucked me up a little. But and some of the National stuff too.
That's intentionally sad though.
Yeah. No, I just mean some of the National stuff I think is actually really adaptable. Like, especially Alligator, which is probably my favorite record by them. Anyway, Josiah.
Alright. Got,
Unless anyone has anything to say about what I was talking about.
Nope.
yeah, alright.
Okay, yeah.
We got, first up, Love's Crushing Diamond by Mutual Benefit. And this album, I got asked a few times, like, when sharing this with other people, what genre it was, and I don't even know if it fits into a genre. It's just debut in general. It's partially field recorded and partially studio. There's a really wide variety of instruments. I actually looked up, like, the credits, and they've got violin, they've got bass and electric guitar, drums, of course, and then also hand drums and other percussion. And then they've got one that's just inspirational electronics. They've got cacophony, sound hunting, and then even a credit for visuals. But that's probably just the album cover now that I think of it. But it's I very much enjoy it. I think when it was recommended to me, it was described as couples music, and that makes sense a lot because it's kind of intimate. It's got a almost organic feel, and it's just really well crafted in general, I'd say. The vocals between, I don't know their two names, the guy and the girl, they're, you know, they fit
Them
well
people.
together, and it's probably my reference point of a pleasant album. It's just really, like, pleasant as much as I can describe it. And then I've also got, unless anyone else wants to talk about that.
No.
I also got the new Beach House album, Thank Your Lucky Stars.
How did you feel about that?
I
Because
will expand on it. I'll preface by saying that my opinions are kind of fresh and probably a little overhyped, but I'll do my best to keep it.
so greatest of all time, right?
No.
Reel it in. I liked Depression Cherry a lot at first, and then kind of waned off from it a little, apart from some certain tracks that I really, really love, namely PPP.
That's my favorite beat.
I liked the fuzzier guitars on this, and it was almost just sloppier, like less precise instrumentation in general, which I liked. And Victoria's vocals felt more closer on this record. They feel almost directly addressing. And there was kind of some throwback sounds almost. The sliding guitar in All Your Yaz feels a lot like an older, like, 80s kind of song. One Thing is the most shoegaze-esque point album, similar to Sparks. And I just felt like it flowed up faster and more energetically than other House albums would just more upbeat in general. And all in all, it was a nice, I kind of lying experience than Depression Cherry. Like, there's songs that I could pick out from Depression Cherry that I maybe like more than individual songs on this, but the overall just feel of it I liked more on this.
I get that. Well, Depression Cherry has grown on me. I was just kind of underwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I had this feeling of that there was, like, more there to Thank Your Lucky Stars than I was giving it credit for, but it just all felt muddled to me, I guess. I guess I'm not a fan
My
of the
opinion
mixing,
is-
which is funny because I really liked the new Tyler, the Creator album, but see, I would say that's an example of creative alternative listening, whereas I actually felt like I get what you're saying with them being more near, but Victoria's vocals felt muddled and not in a good way. Like, it felt like they were trying to go for that shoegaze, like, kind of vocals in the back of the mix, but they weren't really making shoegaze songs. Like, they did that on Depression Cherry, which it was more of a dream pop record for the most part, other than, like, Sparks, but I think it worked, and it's not really working for me on Thank Your Lucky Stars. But then again, I've only heard the record once, and it could grow on me, but this is just my,
I could also just
first
I
impression.
could also just be a little biased on Depression Cherry, because even though I listened to Teen Dream and Bloom, this, like, Depression Cherry, first Beach House record that I really, really went in depth on, and then I came back to Bloom and Teen Dream and Devotion and the self-titled and whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to talk about the album too much because we're going to do a podcast about it, and I may or may not be on. Depends on what the future holds. But I actually really, like, I've listened to it 3 times so far, and I actually really enjoy it. It has more of a rock feel to it.
Which is so weird for you.
Will, liking music, pick one. Anyways, no, it's more of a rock feel to it than anything else Beach House has ever. Like, it's still a dream. Let's not get twisted, but it still has the energy putting out is kind of a rock energy. Like, Majorette is a fantastic opener. Wastes no time. I love that kind of what's the rhythm called? I don't know. It's kind of I love the rhythm of the guitar. The guitar line there.
Arpeggiating?
Yeah.
Arpeggiating, but the rhythm. I'm trying to think of something, but whatever. I've been out of formal music training for too long. Anyways, and then All Your Yaz. I love the energy of that track. One Thing is good. Then
I want to love that song.
Which one?
One Thing.
All Your Yaz, just because of the title.
That's why I don't like that song.
That might be my favorite song title of 2015. It's such a there's something about that song title really
I like the
appreciate.
song. The song, like I said, feels very almost 80s. It just, I don't know, it appeals to me.
It's like the guitar is driving, and I can't tell if the percussion on this album is live. I actually don't think so now that I've listened to it more, but still, it has more of a live energy to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else they've ever done? I know. I just really.
They actually, well, they played the One Thing or whatever it was called.
Well, it had a live drums live, but I've seen other videos of them with a live drummer. So.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it sounded like exactly the same as the track. I wouldn't be surprised if they have live drums on this album.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, like, I can't really give I can't, because there's a few tracks that I haven't really come to a verdict on yet. But at the very least, I think this is better than Depression Cherry.
I would probably agree on that.
I think overall, while I wasn't like too blown away. I think it's a more cohesive project than Depression Cherry.
That's mostly
Depression Cherry was too
that
streaky.
it's just.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the songs on
The last 3
Depression
tracks
Cherry.
are so excruciating to me, and they're just like, it just limps to the finish line for me. Like Days of Candy, there's just not a discernible melody that I like in that song. And this one.
Wasn't that Fantano's complaint?
That's just
But, like,
complain about Sparks. I like Sparks.
He didn't.
But
Yeah.
I feel,
I love Sparks. Sparks is so
I
perfect.
still think that's a good song.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. But this album just hasn't. Even if not every track is strong, enough are strong, and the bad tracks at least are like kind of good. They're redeemable. If they're bad tracks, I said I haven't listened to enough. And Beach House is a really slow burn band for me usually. Like, it takes me a while to decide whether or not I like it or dislike it.
Yeah, I get that. It was.
It's just because it's.
It took me a few listens of them in general.
Yeah,
for
the
me
first
to
time I
even
listened to their.
gain like an opinion when you first listen to them. It just sort of like hits you.
It's just kind of in the background.
Like, not in like a whoa, but it's like
Like that-
it kind of
like-
hits you and then drifts through you and blows away in the breeze.
Yeah, like the first time I was few times listening to Dream Dream, I was like, well, that happened. Like that was the record that I listened to. That was like my opinion. But
Yeah.
then I listened to more.
You have to learn to like chase the feeling of beach house.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it.
I'm the typical day.
You have to
Beach
drift
House,
into
there's some
their
good
mood. You
beach
can't
house
like. I guess what I'd say about it is you have to like drift into their mood rather than having them come on and their mood becoming your mood.
And
You know
luckily,
what I
I've been
mean?
in the beach house mood this week. Actually, I've listened to it several times.
Yeah.
I was in debate about adding them to my have listened to list. But yeah, good stuff on that record, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like that record quite a lot more than Depression Cherry, because what I felt the problem with Depression Cherry is that what Sparks made me think they were going to do is kind of just trade their dream pop sound for a shoegaze sound in full. But what they ended up doing was using shoegaze song structures and keeping the dream pop elements, which is not really a good combination. Because like if you look
There's
at
more
Bloom,
there
it's
than
all
they
these
need.
tight melodies, verse, chorus, verse stuff. And then Depression Cherry just kind of dragged on. So I felt, even though, this album, it's not as strong as Bloom or Teen Dream, but it for me, it just kind of injected a little bit of life into what Depression Cherry was trying to do.
Yeah, that's life. And I think that so far, this is my third favorite Beach House record after Bloom. Teen Dream are just like, and Bloom are just enigmas that they're never going to touch again, I don't feel.
Yeah.
They just set the bar too high almost. But so far,
I've
for me,
always felt Devotion doesn't get enough love, honestly.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, Devotion is Jeremiah's
I
favorite
think
record, and I
also-
think it's Fantano's too.
That's the popular underrated. Like,
I don't want to count Beach House out because even though I'm not personally in love with the new record, I think it's definitely going to go down as one of their better records, and that I wouldn't be absolutely surprised if they do put out good records, but maybe those were sort of like their early career masterpieces, like a lot of artists go in cycles,
Right.
they kind of build up and put out a couple great records, and then they're sort of down for a while doing some stuff that not everyone likes, some people like, and then they kind of have, a resurgence a bit,
also
and that makes
creativity
sense.
isn't
That's just
linear.
life.
Like, just because you make
Yeah.
good, just because like I can't just turn on like, all right, I'm gonna go write a good song now. Like that just doesn't. That's not how it works. So
Yeah.
like even the greatest artists of all time, if they release enough music, are gonna drop a few.
Oh yeah, like Bob Dylan has released a load of shitty
He's
albums.
so the majority of his albums.
and he's still the goat.
Because he's released enough
he's
goat tier. He's still released like 10 goat tier quality albums. 40
Yeah.
of them are forgettable.
yeah.
So yeah, just one of those kind of things.
I think time benefits a lot of artists like that because I'm sure a lot of people are like, man, Bob Dylan sucks now, but now it's like, you look back on his career and you just look at the good
Yeah,
stuff.
you look at 1965.
Yeah.
No, but anyways, yeah. The only thing I'll say about this record though is that they should have sat on it. I think they should have at least
Yeah.
waited till the calendar flipped to 2006.
I feel that, I think if they had done like a December
Maybe
release.
I think in January.
I don't
uh,
I think this is a good companion piece to Depression Cherry, but I think maybe 2 months was a little too soon. I don't know. I think I don't necessarily see this as a misstep.
But
in
I
particular.
won. But actually, I can't say I won the bet yet. But still, like my bet with Jesus Christ is on. Even if I get the 2020 flare, I still get
Yeah.
a custom flare, and that will increase my
Well,
power.
it seems like Fantano likes this record more. I remember seeing him tweet about it.
So that could. I mean,
Yeah.
It's vague, but
Well, that's a lot more
Than he
than
gave Depression Cherry.
the fans
Yeah.
appear to be liking
Yeah.
the album more. Fans appear
Yeah.
to be on my side, and even though it didn't technically hit B&M, it was like 0.3 points lower on Pitchfork, which isn't.
Yeah, I think Pitchfork is just falling out of love with Beach House.
Yeah, I
Pitchfork's
mean-
argument
They-
really annoyed me because basically what they said is this album is better than Depression Cherry, but it came out too fast, so we're gonna rate it lower. Which That
We
was
weren't
what they were
expecting
doing.
That's such a
I
Pitchfork
that-
move.
I think what that means is we weren't expecting this and don't want you to get mad at us for giving it a 9 point whatever immediately.
the 10.0
A
that it deserves.
9.3. Eh.
This is up there with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and Kid A.
No, that's
We
current.
get
though.
our advanced
It's up
copy.
I start with, this is a pretty good album too. This is up there with Kid A.
Yeah.
But I stand by it.
That's so. This year's been so weird for Pitchfork.
It's just
Fun seeing
I
them
don't
turn
know,
into
I feel
some
like-
mutant version of themselves.
Yeah, I feel like Pitchfork is spiraling out, but in the most Pitchforky way. Like, this was how it was always going to end, you know?
like
In a way, they've become the thing they used to parody, but it's equally as
I don't want to
obnoxious.
say modern Rolling Stone, but
alright, did you see my comment in the?
Rolling Stone is the modern Rolling
That's
Did
Stone.
you guys see my comment?
that's
Yeah.
entirely fair.
I asked the question like, is this going to be a Sonic Youth change, aka
Oh.
good, or a Lupe Fiasco change, aka bad? I said
I could.
I'm thinking Modest Mouse, where like it gets worse progressively, but like it was going that direction anyways, so the major label doesn't really mean much, and they just got
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, like, a lot of why Modest Mouse was because of youthful angst. So it was always gonna be like,
And I
you
feel like
know,
that's just the direction.
Isaac Brock's gonna
I
grow
think
up
so. Let's
eventually.
not have a Modest Mouse chat. I could go on that.
Yeah, we should probably move on to New Bermuda. 40 minutes into the podcast. Yeah, so what about that main topic?
What a
It's
bang.
okay. It's okay.
I got everyone
Next
off
podcast.
topic with Meme House.
House.
Alright, so Stefan, do you want to start us off? You were going to lead the discussion,
Yeah,
right?
sure. So, before you get into opinions, I just want to say that this album, like, I don't know, we'll get into what your guys' experience with Deafheaven was before you heard this album. But for me, like, I'm a huge fan of them, and you know, I bought Sunbather the week it came out. That was my favorite album of 2013, one of my favorites of the decade, hands down. And so, 2 years on, the expectation for this album, like, is so huge for me that, like, the only thing I compare it to is that it was like it's like a black metal to Pimp a Butterfly. Like, it's just, how on earth are they going to follow up the thing they did 2 years ago? And so, before I give my opinion on the album in full, like, the fact that this album is a satisfying flop at all is, like, it's miraculous. Like, that just, there's statistically no way they could have followed Sundup with, like, an equally satisfying album, but they did. And so, I'm very impressed with it. But yeah, that's coming from the perspective of a diehard fan, so I'm kind of curious to hear what each of you guys thought about it.
I personally didn't know much about Deafheaven, had never listened to one of their records, and hadn't, like, wasn't a metal fan and stuff, and I thought it was gonna go down the stinker.
I did too.
You know, because it just seemed like one of those, not necessarily one and done bands, because I thought it would be good, but I thought it would be one of those things where it was like expectations were so high that nothing they would ever put out ever again would be seen as up to
Yeah,
par.
well, that's how
you
I
know?
felt too. Like, even right when Sunbather came out, I was like, they have to break up. Like, you can't keep being a band after
Yeah.
this. That's not how it works.
Yeah, and part of the reason, actually a big part of the reason why I even listened to it, coming from someone who had no interest in metal and was not a fan of metal, was because people liked it. I was surprised, and I got curious, so I listened to it, and it blew me away. I think it's really good.
My background just with metal in general is that, like, during my classic rock phase, I was pretty big into, like, that kind of, like, I'm a big Metallica 80s fan. After 90s, they suck. Poo-poo. But, I mean, and just lately I've been getting into Black Sabbath. They're, like, the best fucking band ever. But Paranoid, it's so good. But anyways, the point is about modern metal, I just don't really have as much experience with. And I never really listened to. Before, like, a few weeks before, I listened to. The thing is, like, I'm interested, because I guess my personal image is kind of more hardcore. I'm a hardcore dude. So I was like, I need to listen to this album. And I listened to Sunbather.
I'm a hardcore dude. I gotta listen to this record.
Yeah,
From Texas.
Yeah, I have to see, like, I have to compensate for the fact that I have a tiny dick, so I have to compensate, you know.
That's what I was. That's what I was
Yeah.
going for.
With my truck. No, but anyways, so yeah, like I didn't have much experience. I listened to Sunbather maybe 2 or 3 times before. I think 3 times officially before this album.
Yeah.
So not much.
I was on like I'm definitely on the spectrum of least experience to most experience. The least experience in this podcast with metal probably, but I'd listened to Sunbather a good amount. I liked Sunbather a good amount, and I remember an article directly before this came out about someone saying when Sunbather came out that they thought their next album was gonna go even lighter. It was gonna have like female vocal harmonies, just like the complete opposite of this. And like, a part of me is like, that would be an interesting Deafheaven record to hear. I think I respect them way more for going the opposite direction and making an even heavier record that still has like some emotional significance and still has a lot of that feel of Sunbather of what I liked about it.
Well, I think it's interesting because with this record, for my opinion, really, they went kind of in 2 directions at once. Like, Sunbather as an album, you know, it was on paper a combination of black metal and shoegaze, which if you think about it, are kind of like on the horseshoe of, you know, musical taste. They're kind of like on separate poles where they're separate but very like similar. And so that was a logical kind of leap for them to make. But with this, the heavier parts are heavier and more straightforward black metal, but then the lighter parts are like even more out of place, strange, like alternative rock influences. And so I think this album might be more polarizing for that reason. But anyways, Will, you had something to say?
I think that's what makes it so perfect. What struck me about this album and what made me love it, even though I wasn't really enjoying the metal parts at first, was to have grown to enjoy. It was just the perfect tension and release. You know, you're getting hit with this wall of gnarly, brutal guitars for like a period of 5 straight minutes, and then all of a sudden it's like, doo-doo, and you're like hit with the most intense relief music will ever make you feel. It's just like you just get so balled up and tense, and then it just lets you release in this warm little tide pool, and you're with the fish, and it's all nice, and then all of a sudden a house hits you in the face, and you're back in the metal part. Yeah, you know, like a tornado comes and a house comes flying out of it, and
it doesn't hit your
like,
house though. It hits you in the face.
It hits you in the face. None of the rest of your body, but you're perfectly okay. And you're just back in that hell, and I think that's such an incredible quality.
Y'all want to talk about Brought to the Water first? Does want to do track by track?
Yeah, I guess we might, and then branch off.
Yeah, we could do that. I don't see this record as a tracked record. You know, it feels very cohesive.
It actually kind of feels like the opposite for me, whereas Sunbather was very much cohesive. This is definitely 5 individual statements, I think.
Yeah, I kind of get that, but I would never listen to them separately.
No, and there still is definitely a progression between them. Like, you start the album somewhere and finish it someplace else, which is part of what Deafheaven kind of try and do on every.
You know what the album kind of feels with me, and especially with the part where it's like it's kind of raining and there's a reporter or something, and like it feels like a movie with 5 separate scenes that tell the story of characters like centered around this one event. Like, I haven't paid attention to the lyrics, and I'll get to that later, but to me it feels like that, because I get what you mean, that they're like kind of 5 separate statements, but they also work together so well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Deafheaven... It's interesting you picked up on that intuitively, because that is very much what Deafheaven do lyrically. Like, each of their songs really are... It's all a progression of scenes, of these very, like, particular moments and feelings they're trying to discuss, and the way those all string together is sort of what creates the narrative flow of the album.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Brought to the Water. One of the first things that struck me was that how the album starts is kind of a post-rock intro. It has a lot of cool guitar effects, and also it has some chimes that really remind me of Swans, Thor Harris.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I got that.
Yeah,
vibe,
so like
for sure.
automatically I'm like, all right, I can fuck with this, you know.
Yeah.
It's
You've played to my good side for
like,
now.
like, for seconds I'm like, all
You
right.
have my attention.
you had my interest, now you have my attention. Anyways, and then yeah, it goes, but they're transitioning into the metal part. Like I'll get into the post rock versus metal parts later, but yeah, this transition into the meat of the song works quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things. I don't know if you guys watched Fantano's review where he gave it a 6, but that was something I really disagreed with him about. Is that, you know, the transitions and the moves between genres and all these songs, like I don't think they're slapped together or forced or awkward at all. They're so fluid and creative.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
very
I mean,
awkward.
it feels
Like,
right.
This
It
song at
doesn't.
the very end with the piano, that one was kind of slapped on, I think.
I will agree with you on that point.
I
actually.
like
that's
that
my
part.
one part of the album where it's like this could have been done better.
Just because
Yeah.
the song itself, the core part of the song fades out, then they go into the piano. It's like, well, that's clearly separate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I used to think that was the start of the next track. I
Well,
don't know.
because on Sunbather
it doesn't.
is.
It feels like the right progression.
It does. It just could have been handled a lot
It
better
doesn't-
than a technical up. I
Yeah,
think.
it doesn't feel out of place to me. It feels like a definite part of the album's narrative, whatever that may be.
One thing I
Even
love,
just like splitting that off into a little end tag track would have been.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the problem is they did do exactly that on the first 2 tracks of Sunbather. It was like a big intense opener, and then it went into like this 3-minute little piano ballad, which was also the problem with this move, is it felt a little shades of that. But again, you know, I thought about like how else could they have ended this song, and I really don't know how else they could have gotten out of the
besides
place
just
they were
ending
in.
it the way they did with
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted, like before we get away from this track, if we do, is that I love that the riff in this song is probably my favorite riff on the album. The
Yeah.
that when it comes about 3.5 minutes in, it just hits you and it's like you're waiting for it.
That's
you're waiting
definitely
for
a shining
it,
moment.
yeah, love it.
And also the way that
The-
lands you in a different like key area, basically musically. That's one of the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
I respect Kerry McCoy so much for with his songwriting. Is like I would love to just sit down with the sheet music to this album and see like how did they manage just on like a note by note level to make these transitions happen. But like I have no
Yeah.
idea, because it just jumps from such extremes like so quickly that you barely even notice you're in a completely other world sonically.
Yeah. No, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll-
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Still-
had something. Well, one thing I noticed listening to this record this last time that I did before the podcast was since we're just talking about it track by track, is with each track I was like, oh man, this is my favorite track, and then the next track would come along, oh wait, no, this is totally my favorite track, and I don't know, I respect that. I feel like each track, I don't mean that in like a, I don't know, I'm forgetting how I felt about the record kind of way, but I feel like each track kind of tops the last track's extremes.
yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah, and then Luna, the next track, the most harder to start with, that kind of easy into it, but this one starts off as heavy as it gets, and it's my favorite to song, coincidentally, Twally.
Yeah,
Twilight.
Brought
I
to the
will just
Water
say-
was just like, as a song, a summary of the album almost.
It kind of is.
But that's
I
what
get
Which
that.
Kerry
I
Washington
disagree
said.
with, actually, because I do want to say this about both Brought to the Water and Come Back. Like, when both those songs came out ahead of the album, like, it made me think the album was not going to be good, because I don't know if you guys, probably not, but there was a track they did for Adult Swim last year called From the Kettle Onto the Coil, and it is almost like structurally it is bar for bar almost the same as Brought to the Water, and so I was like,
Wow.
oh no, like are they really like gonna end up with like a formulaic repetitive album? And then
That's such a It's so weird to think about that as a possibility for this
I
band.
know. I don't know why I doubted
I was
them.
really
I don't
blown
know
away.
why.
Yeah.
And then come back to kind of the same thing where it was like, okay, well, that's also structurally similar to Brought to the Water and From the Kettle. So, God, this album might suck. Like, that was my big concern going in. But yeah, the other, I would have almost preferred to see like either Luna to bring it back or like Baby Blue released as the second track, maybe, just to show like, no, this album is going to go to some places. But anyways, yeah, let's get into that with Luna some more.
Yeah.
I think they kind of wanted to surprise us a little.
Maybe.
Actually, I shouldn't say that as I know nothing about the band. Maybe they just didn't think about it. I don't know.
Well, one thing that's random
Yeah.
is that like I was hanging out at my friend's house today, and his dog is named Luna, and she was cuddling with me, and I thought of this song.
Aw, cuddly dog.
But anyways, yeah, no, this song, I think Brought to the Water might be my favorite, just because I love the hardcore start to the song that they don't do on the rest of the songs, how they just throw you in on. And I like then about 50 seconds in they bring you the tremolo guitar.
Yeah. Oh,
which is
so good.
Yeah.
And then they go to the post rock around 7 minutes in, and while that's not my favorite transition of the album, it's one of the weaker ones. It builds to a last minute, like the last minute of that song, the orgasmic. So it's worth it overall.
I think this one is probably my second favorite too. I think it very much, even in the heavier parts, had the same emotional kind of effect of the post-rock parts without having to switch. And it just, I don't know, had an effect.
It could have done a little bit better, but the end makes it worth it for me.
Yeah, and I will say about that little transition, which again is another move they do. It's so subtle that like you would have to have listened to Sunbather as much as I have to notice it. But what they did on all those kind of like choppy transitions on Sunbather is they would like prolong the quiet part, and they would kind of have like a sustained note, and then like on a moment you're not suspecting, then they would jump into the loudness, and here they actually protract it. Like you get to the heavy part before you're expecting to, and so I guess it doesn't quite pay the dues enough, but I do see some effort to kind of stay away from that territory a little bit on here. Yeah, this song, one of the things I was looking for in this album, maybe a little unfairly, was like a Sunbather moment where you just feel like your face is melting off because everything is so intense, and you just feel like every degree of emotion at once. And every song on Sunbather had at least one of those, sometimes more. And so I don't know if this album ever quite gets there, but I will say the closest it does is on Luna and Baby Blue, I think, which, to get into that track, I will say that is probably my favorite track on the album. I love the way it starts with those emo-influenced guitars. And
yeah, I like that too.
It gets into some super weird territory, and they do the soft to heavy thing, like maybe in the most different and intense way they've ever done, when you go from that at the very end, from that kind of rhythmic riff that keeps just repeating and you're waiting for it to end, and then they just jump into that pummeling section that is just so anguished and intense. And it is I think that might be one of their finest moments, because it does what they strive to do every song in a way that no other song they've done has managed.
This is I think it was my early favorite, just because that's the one. This one has the best post rock to black metal. What's the word for it? Well, I'm blanking. But the point is that I love the intro to this song too, just because I'm also an emo fan. This has an emo feel to it. But the black metal section of the song is probably one of the more underwhelming of the albums for me, actually. That might be. The thing is, I like that song. I assembled this song today. So, I mean, I like the song, but I think that the post-rock almost outshines the black metal on this track, which is maybe not a good thing.
Yeah, not necessarily. Again, I don't... It depends, I guess, on just what you perceive Deafheaven as and as what they're trying to do. And personally, I did think they were balanced very well. And this track also...
metal band. They are.
Anyways. Do you have any other thoughts about that track?
This is unrelated, but how do you guys feel about the perception of lyrics? Or not the perception, I don't know. How do you guys feel about the importance of the lyrics? Because I read I read through his lyrics. I read through the lyric book when I picked up the CD, and I definitely remember thinking that they were good. Also, they just haven't played a role in my enjoyment to the album, and I think part of it is, I mean, for one, the instrumentals themselves are just so incredible, but also like his gnarled screams feel alien and like another language to me because I'm not used to that, and so I guess it almost has this dynamic where it's like Sigur Rós with me. Because I can't understand what's being said, but that's not the important part. The important part is how it's being said and the music that's backing it up, and that it just comes together in such a perfect way where I haven't even considered the lyrics yet, but I'm sure in the future I will start to look at them and it'll give the record more legs for me, because I remember thinking that they were pretty well written.
But based on my last listen before this podcast, I looked at the lyrics. I was on Genius. In my basic, this is kind of what separates it from other metal to more the emo crowd, is that it is a little bit, it's not even that emotional, but it's more emotional than most metal. And it's almost, this record, like, just based on one reason.
It's kind of poetic,
Well,
too.
It's
like,
very
it's
good
like
poetry.
It's like it's a lot more poetic than I'm used to from metal, at least.
The metal stuff.
From the metal I've heard in the past.
Well, yeah, and I think that's an aspect of what makes it so radical, is that really, from my understanding, and I will say you are welcome to disagree with this, anyone or any metal fans who are listening, but for me, the problem I have with a lot of metal today is what it is it's quantitative. Like, it's about trying to be the heaviest or trying to be the fastest or the most extreme, the most intense,
Does it degent?
The most hardcore.
But really though, and for me that's where
I have a friend on Facebook who only posts genting memes. Like, that's like half of his feed, and I still follow him because just something about it just seems really funny to me.
It is pretty.
I don't know.
But yeah, so that's. Oh, we'll go ahead.
By our standards. By our standards, this isn't that emotional of an album, the lyrics, by its indie hit. That's one thing I liked about your review, is when your question is...
Well, it's not Carrion Lowell.
Right, well, the thing is, like, when it's Sunbather, like, for your consideration, Stefan's talks about how metal, like, like, they care too much, they demonize emotional lyrics too much, and to an extent...
Yeah.
Indie fans fetishize them too much. Jeremiah. So I don't know. Like, that's just one kind of things that, like, but by general indie standards, they're not that emotional. But by metal standards, they're kind of radical.
Yeah, which is exactly why their divisiveness to me seems so arbitrary. Because it's like divisiveness within their metal fan base, I should say, because
they're
any
kind
other
of...
form of music, like that level, that favoring of like emotional expression is like Will said, it's the standard, like that's what's preferred. And so for them to meld that and for it to be divisive is very strange to me, because it's like, yeah, of course music should say something, of course it should make you feel something, and that's why I love Deafheaven, is because more than almost any other metal band I've heard, they really make you just feel the emotion in their songs.
Yeah. Well, I think I understand why it's divisive, and that's because it sits distinctly outside of the comfort zones of both the genres that it plays to. It's like that's not your conventional shoegaze record, and it's not your conventional metal record. It's... I feel like devout fans of either genre might not.
And that's the thing that, like, also I sympathize with metal fans too, just because, like, most of us, besides for Stefan, are admitting that we know nothing about this genre. So, like, we have nothing to compare this record or Sunbather to. So it's almost as, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, which I'm kind of struggling with. But it's like if the metal R-Metal did a podcast and they did an episode about Arcade Fire or Reflective or something, So just because, like, they may like it or they may dislike it, but, like, the reasoning, like, they just don't know. They don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can understand why they might be weary of us doing a podcast about this album, you know?
Yeah.
I think that kind of brings an interesting perspective to it, because we all like the record, but we aren't knowledgeable.
We
I
can't
don't know.
compare it
To me, that seems
it's like
fresh.
for example, I saw the Mike Seatown review. He's an interesting music fan because he does the dead end hip hop, but he's also a huge black metal fan, and he also just likes random music. Like in his 2013 favorite albums of the year, like it was almost all black metal albums, and then he has the Nationals' "Trouble Will Find Me" at number 2. He just has very eclectic taste, so I trust his opinion when he talks about like a band like this that fuses the genres. And he compared this album to like DiGiorno's Pizza,
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, it serves its purpose, it's good, and it's entry level, but once you have better pizza, you might not want DiGiorno's anymore. That was
Yeah,
his
and I think it
words.
depends on it depends on your value system in music, I think, of whether you value mechanics over expressionism or vice versa. Because, like, for me, Deafheaven is better pizza. Like, that's just, they satisfy something in me that a lot of metal bands don't necessarily, but, that's really just speaking only to my value system, whereas I understand why a lot of metalheads might be alienated by them, because they have gotten accustomed to seeking out something very different in the music, and it's true that Deafheaven might not satisfy that entirely.
I don't know. I've always been a proponent of expressionism over like technicality. Like I don't virtuosity doesn't interest me, especially in guitar players. Like my this is kind of a weird example. My history of jazz teacher, he's an incredible guitar player, super amazing with the guitar, and like I do like one of his original songs, but like overall it sometimes his work feels a little showy to me, it's like
I get that.
I don't know.
The thing is, like, being talented doesn't equal skill at songwriting. Because, like, for example, most of the classical musicians today, the virtuosos, aren't writing. Like Itzhak Perlman, famous violinist, isn't performing his own tunes. He's performing Mozart. He's performing Tchaikovsky. You know. So, same thing here. It's like,
I don't necessarily.
We get that. It's like there's bands like Led Zeppelin that combine virtuosity with good songwriting, but overall, virtuosity at talent, objectively, and good songwriting and good music aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't see. I don't want to say one way or the other, because it depends on what you're interested in, and it depends on what appeals to you. Like I'm not saying he's a bad writer or a player, obviously. Like I think certain things appeal to certain people. Like my best friend is, well, she does enjoy a lot of the more emotional records. She's also really interested in virtuosity and is impressed by it, when I'm like when it might not impress me or make me, I don't know, it's always impressive, obviously, but it might not
It
might
songwriting
not be
versus
my
virtuosity.
thing. She shared with me this metal video of a guy like playing, I don't know, the Super Mario theme or something on his guitar, and it's like, oh no, it was
It was
the second section of Moonlight Sonata, and it was super impressive, but that's just not the aesthetic I want. That's like, that wasn't something that I would really seek out or be interested in.
Well, yeah, because you can go on YouTube.
And I think it depends on the type of music listener
There's
you are.
There's tons of great guitar videos on YouTube. There's like fantastic guitarists doing fantastic. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank now. His name is Billy. He's like, there's a lot of those guys that do like those virtuosic guitar things, but they don't actually have really songs to back them up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's
he's one of them. He just
and
plays
that's
guitar really good.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, again, why I love Deafheaven so much is because for me they do kind of combine that virtuosity with that expressionism. Like, to me, it's a perfect marriage of that, because they do have just this pure emotional intensity, but it's not without technical justification, I don't think. Because if you look at the songs, like they're incredibly smart songwriters, and the structures and the chord progressions on the things they write are just so mind-bending and, to me, original, that I think that really is what elevates it for me. And part of what's, because there is a lot of music like this that does try to combine metal with other genres. And when it, like, if Deafheaven's the only band you've heard that does that, then you might not understand, like, what it sounds like when this is not done well. Because Deafheaven is very, like, it is some of the best it's ever been done.
Well,
part of that is because...
I know they're a band that does something similar to this, I've heard. What's your opinion of Alcest?
I'll say I haven't... I'll admit the only album I've heard of theirs is their most recent one, Shelter, which was literally not even a metal album. So I can't really say, and I kind of don't care the argument that, oh, well, they're not the first band to do this. They're not the only band to do this. It's like, yeah, but right. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just good. And I think what sets Deafheaven apart, like I was saying, is, they're combining a bunch of different styles, but they're not just, slapping together or creating a mishmash of them. They really get inside, like, the guts of each style they approach and really understand them and start to reconstruct them in their own way, which is for me is the novelty of their songs. And I think if we want to get back to a track by track is especially apparent in the last two songs, because those are the two biggest leaps they take in their whole discography, basically, is in these songs.
Yeah, back to that. Come Back. It starts off with another kind of meh post-rock intro for me. It's okay, but it doesn't work that good.
The explosive transition though I like a lot. It's just kind of like
oh man, it's so
get a staccato
groovy.
rhythm about 3 minutes in, that's when I start.
Groovy.
It really is. It's just that like that is such a fucking great riff, and the way they use that to transition, like that moment where George is like he has that low guttural scream of like undertow, and then the song just crashes into that sinister guitar solo. Oh, so good. So good.
And one thing is that the post-rock section near the end of this track, about 6 minutes in, that goes till the end, that might be the best post-rock section of the entire album for me, I think.
Yeah, because it really has the thematic payoff. Like, that's the part of the album where you start to realize the feeling that you, like, experience something. Like, it really sounds very weathered and reflective as opposed to just kind of trying to be lofty and gentle unlike some of the other sections.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I kind of spaced out for a second there.
That's cool.
Sorry. I was like, wow, did I just talk about my history of jazz teacher on the podcast?
Show him the podcast. Show him that you think this song.
He wants me to show him the podcast too, and now I'm like, wow, did I do that? He's a really cool guy though. I feel like I kind of shat on him a little. I mean, not really, but like, John Monlos. You can look him up. He's
Mr. Monlos.
Yeah, he's got a really cool track on YouTube. He does like smooth jazz-ish stuff called Shadows Dance, and it's about his dog. I don't know. I really like that song. I haven't listened to anything else by him.
I would feel so weird just like showing the podcast to anyone I know, honestly.
Oh, I share.
I know.
Especially since you've talked about him.
Yeah.
Wow, it's weird.
I know, exactly, and it's
like he
seemed really. This is such a bad aside. I'm such a terrible host.
No, I'm interested.
He seemed genuinely interested, and now it's just like this has just turned into a late night.
It's a better late night than the one we just did, though.
Yes, significantly, and Maddie still wants us to post that.
Shout out to RTV in the last late night with him, the solo one. Our guest sat on him. He's like, "Come on, man."
Oh, that's what he was talking about. I thought he was talking about how shitty our late night was.
No, he was talking about how he said some things about ARTV's tastes. Anyways, he's gonna hear this. God damn it. Anyways, your dead homies.
How many of the people we've had on here actually listen to? Sorry, I'm getting us more off track.
John Congleton is just okay. Grammy-winning producer and Swans producer John Congleton is gonna hear my voice.
Yeah, we're a professional, serious podcast.
People
that strives for unique analysis and the. I'm sorry, I can't. Back to New Bermuda.
Those are the 3 essentials.
Okay.
So the last track.
Stefan, can you bring us back? Say something, please.
I think we should give it like a kind of thesis closing. We're at what, like hour 12 right now.
Yeah, that's a good length. Does anyone else have anything like really serious to say? We should give our head ratings too.
It has I like the post-rock beginning. When it gets into the metal stuff around 2 minutes in, it gets pretty good. And the ending, the ending is beautiful, but it goes on for about 4 minutes. Maybe could have gone on for maybe 2.5 to 3 minutes. Maybe they could have edited it. Maybe I could say that about a lot of parts of the album though. Same thing with Baby Blue and.
I hate nitpicking records in that way because I don't know, unless it was like it was really bugging you that it keeps going on, it just feels like if I focus on that, then I'm just gonna enjoy the music less.
That's fair. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I look for both positives and negatives unless it's like a perfect album. Just because it's more interesting than just circle jerking the entire time. Like I love it. I love this. I love that. I love everything.
Yeah.
I'll probably just end.
Honestly, it's not a bad life to just circle jerk every record.
I'm enjoying
it. Yeah.
So anyways, I guess.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Josiah. Go ahead.
I'll end on the record just by saying that I liked the droning parts, and I liked I'm still able to be very interested by the switching back and forth from metal to post-rock to metal to piano part to post-rock. It's like I could see it becoming uninteresting or like not done well, expecting it, but at this point I'm still invested in it, and it's a nice style on this record.
Yeah.
I like this album. It did, like, I'm not gonna say like made me into a believer of black metal or even like full-fledged standing this band, but it's not even one of my absolute favorites of the year, but it's a well done record that I can enjoy, and that I'll probably continue to listen to after this podcast.
It'll make my top 25 for sure, and that's
your first
still saying something.
Number 2 album of the year after To Pimp a Butterfly.
Oh, well, see, I'm not sure where it fits into my top 10. I'm struggling with that because then there was, like, I don't know, the new Destroyer album and Aught, and it's just, like, this year, so...
Yeah, I can't really decide between, like, Valnakira and this as, like, my number 2 album of the year, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
It was definitely my second best first listen of the year, with To Pimp a Butterfly being one of the best listens of anything in my life. But... yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah,
Will.
Head ratings. Let's go to that.
Yeah. Will, what's your head rating?
I haven't thought of mine yet. You go first.
Alright. Me? Okay, I have one. So my head rating for this album is just... so, like, you've been kidnapped, right? And you're kind of tied to a chair. And, like, your kidnapper's talking about, like... I don't know. He's just talking some crazy shit, and you don't really understand it. And he's just like ripping your face to shreds. But then he sits you down and he kind of rubs you and calms you and soothes you and lovingly sews it back together. And you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then he just starts fucking you up again.
So it's all based on Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome. But that's like, I like this record on a legitimate level outside of that. It's a great album. Will, do you have yours, or Josiah, or Stefan?
8.5 scarved hipsters out of 10.
5 scarved hipsters out of 10.
8.5.
Scarved. Oh, 8.5. Are you sure you didn't mean 9.3? Or the classic 9.0?
I'd give this album sacrifice of one metalhead sacrifice to the gods of indie.
Can I actually talk about the Pitchfork score for a second? because like their 9.0 of this record felt more meaningful than the 9 point any of the 9.3s they gave this year. Like,
Yeah, I
I
literally
hated
said
it.
in the comments that like my reaction to that score was when Anthony gives To Pimp a Butterfly a 10. Like what Cal does, that was like
yeah.
what I was doing with my phone.
To me, like the review, like I mean, like I could go on for a review, but like the review is like almost unintelligible. Like they're obviously circle jerking the album, but like just the way they do it is like what?
Pitchfork's reviews have not been very good
what,
this
like,
year.
what is it you like about the album? Like I get really like, near the end they get a little bit more cohesive and better, but before it they're just like senselessly circle jerking it. But I can't understand what it is they are circle jerking.
Remember how the To Pimp a Butterfly review was 5 paragraphs?
God.
Craig Jenkins wrote a high school essay for To Pimp a Butterfly.
Pitchfork sucks for giving them 9.3.
Yeah, and it's not even a good
Craig,
essay.
did you make sure you had your 3 body paragraphs? You make sure you brought
Yeah,
back
you
pieces at the end?
need your closing and transitional statements. You need a hook. You need some random facts about, I don't know. Just
Open
try
with the
harder,
quote.
please.
Why don't you?
Can we make this a series where English professors review Pitchfork reviews?
No, but
Ian Cohen didn't have to be terrible.
because I actually like Currents a lot. So we go on a whole day. Maddie sucks. But anyway, for hating Pitchfork.
How did we
Okay.
jump to that?
No, but the thing is,
I think Currents is a good record, but you can't say it was as good as To Pimp a
The thing-
Butterfly.
You also can't say it was anything in the league of Kid A or Yankee
Yeah.
Foxtrot or Loveless.
the thing is like Ian Cohen, he's just a hyperbolic person in general. Like he'll just like call, like how he called Kevin Parker the greatest bassist of the 21st century. Which on one,
Jesus.
I get that though. Tame Impala bass lines are
Yeah, see,
like
that's
the
the thing.
best part of Tame
the
Impala.
thing is like if you're talking about what we were just talking about, virtuosity, no way. But like in songwriting, maybe. But the point is that, but still, just his hyperbolicness and comparing it to Kid A and Yankee Foxtrot,
Yeah.
it's like, and then how he wrote about harmlessness for Spin and called it the perfect indie rock album. Which I mean, I'm a circle jerkler of that album. But even I can't say, man, that's not a perfect indie rock album. But anyways, shouts out to Ian Cohen. Come by anytime you want on the podcast.
We will make fun of you.
Yeah.
You can make fun of us for
Ian
being.
Cohen.
We'll
Ian
call
Cohen,
you a
please come on the
shitty
podcast.
reviewer.
You can make fun of us for our professional podcast. I mean, like whatever, you know.
See what I'm now just realizing is that Ian Cohen did both the reviews of Run the Jewels 2 and Currents, and he gave Currents a higher score.
I mean, yeah, day Pitchfork politics. I actually did like
Yeah.
I added the scores of the 2014 score. Like, you know, they had the individual ballots for the end of year lists.
Yeah, those are always better.
If I wanted to wreck the sub, I could at any moment, because I actually I counted the top 20 albums of their year, and I counted their votes. I could fucking destroy the subreddit any moment I wanted.
Okay.
Fine, that would
Will
actually-
announcing his plans for Doomsday. And I mean that's about it. Yeah.
We went.
Any I mean, are we good, or do you have closing statements?
I'll make a little closing statement just to put a button on it now that we've
Okay.
gone like 10 minutes over on Pitchfork complaints. Like every podcast.
And I talked about my history of jazz professor. Professor Monlos, I would like to personally apologize for mentioning you by name.
Let's get him on here.
If you're listening.
Have an epic,
Monlos
have an
Ian
epic
Cohen.
discussion.
That could actually be a good
Mr.
one,
Monlos
because
versus
we
Ian
could
Cohen,
talk to him
2015.
about I mean that could be an interesting interview. We could talk to him about like the the modern face of
Hey,
jazz and
Did
like
you see that post this week?
how he feels about I don't know. I'm sure he'd have some
Welcome
interesting
back,
stuff to
Kamasi,
say.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, he wanted to One last thing. He wanted me to send him some more modern jazz, and so I was gonna send him some songs, and I need to know what to send by Kamasi Washington, or, like, I don't know. So if any of our
That's our listener
listeners
question.
have any modern jazz recommendations for me, feel free to PM me.
Send us some Flying Lotus too.
Yeah, I was gonna send him.
You're dead.
Thundercat.
Never Catch Me. No, he just wants songs, like YouTube videos.
Okay.
So I figured I'd give him a preview, and then if he was more interested, I could go more in depth on any of the artists, except for I don't know shit about Kamasi or Thundercat, so
Send him Anthony's
I need to
contacts.
learn up. Yeah.
Wrapping up the
Email-
podcast. Yeah, New Bermuda's great. I love it. I can't believe they produced a satisfying follow-up to the Sunbather, but yeah,
Yeah.
this album, it's great. Deafheaven is great. Listen to Sunbather if you haven't, because that album is just like this album, but more and better and yeah.
So yeah, fuck
Yeah.
Bermuda.
I think it's really worth it, even if you aren't a fan of metal. Like, I implore you to listen to this
Honestly,
record.
if you just like good music, like forgetting about genre classifications, the thing that sets
Yeah,
Deafheaven apart
exactly.
is they're just good. Like that is the end of the argument. But no matter what this music does for you, it is so well made and just it's good. Like you can't dispute that, I don't think. But anyways, this'll definitely be somewhere in my top 5. We'll see if it beats Fulmicura. I'm undecided, but it might, as I was hoping it would. I'll give it 4.5 out of 5 Bermuda Triangles, and an 8 point on the spectrum of false to cult. This is like an 8.0 for false. That is a reference only people who go on Our Metal and Our Metal Jerk will get, but whatever.
Okay.
Shouts out to R-Metal.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. That was the Indieheads podcast. Good night.
Yes.
Oh my God. Where's my? Holy shit! Hang on.
This is on the podcast.
This better be on there.
Alex struggle.